So we've been talking about Corona, revisiting data, going back in time and looking at where we are and how we can really progress and move forward. And there's some nice features that we can do and bring into the report pack to really help push us further forward and trying to draw the strands together, repeat some of the learnings that we've been going through and see if we've really got it all nailed down now and we know what's going on. Alright everyone, welcome along. Something for the weekend. So what we've got today is a case of, let's have a look at the coronavirus report that we've built, yeah? Remembering what was the point, why have we done it? And thinking, does this really showcase what we need to present and represent our data going forward? So let's go now into the Power BI service and have a look at what it looks like. Alright, here we are, Power BI service. Let's have a look at the data that we've got. So dead simple, I've put three main charts on the page. Okay, I think that just kind of sums it up, doesn't it? So we've got cases over time, and we can see really how COVID is affecting the country. Okay, we've got the current rate here relative to national. So we've looked at it. So the blue areas are below the national rate, and the red areas are above the national rate. And if you go and hover over, it'll tell you how they're doing. So when I hover over something in here, you see if it's blue, it's got a little blue border. If it's a bad area, it goes red. Right? Context again, right? So if we look here, we can see Wakefield with 144 cases per 100,000 is 180% above the national average when we're hovering over it. Right? What I've also put on here is a little line chart so you can see the first and second dose percentage per head of the population. So we can see, and this is the key bit, this is the bit I'm really worried about the most. The first dose percentage, right? And no one over the age of 18 in the UK has an excuse to not have had the vaccine already. Yeah, it's kind of there, easy to get done, do it. And yet, when we're looking places like Wakefield here, we're looking at that. That's maybe what 60% or so, isn't it? Okay, for like the 18 to 24, and it looks like even the 25 to 29-year-olds is lower. And that's the thing I'm finding the hardest to understand with these is that under 30 list is worse. And because I was expecting that we'd be going, right, let's target under 30s, then we'll get under 25s down. But it looks like the message is getting through to the under 25s more, which worries me because is it that it's getting through or is there other stuff going on that we're not aware of? So, and then over here, we've got this, a nice little vaccine percentage uptake over time. So for everybody across England, this is what it looks like. Yeah, first dose and second dose. We can see we've got 85% who've had the first dose, 78% have had the second. Bit of a worry in that kind of people potentially aren't doing what they should be and getting both doses, which you're going to get some people. And some of those people as well, because there is the new Moderna, isn't there, that does one dose. So it might be some of that. What does this mean then? How do I actually make sense of it all? So what I've done is I've set this up. So if we was to view this and zoom in, and we said, right, I want to look at Newcastle. Here we go. Care about Newcastle. And we can see the uptake in Newcastle over here, right? So we're at reasonably good, 82% of people have got the full vaccine, full dose, yeah, double doses. What we've got above here, we can see there's a boundary. So I can pick, I want to look at 30 as the boundary. And I can say, well, I want to look at what are people under 30 looking like for it. So we click under 30 and you can see it now brings in two additional charts or lines to the chart, sorry. So we've bought through this one and this is the first dose for under 30s. Look at that, 56%. That's the whole point of this, isn't it? That's why we're doing this. We're saying, hang on, right? What's going on? So we can kind of look at that and say, well, quite categorically, that's not a protected area. You guys ain't getting your jobs and going to be safe. So we've got all that. So how exactly have we set this up? Right? I like the way this works because we've got two drop downs that are allowing me to add lines into a chart based on what it is I want to see. So if I want to see above or below, like over 30s, under 30s, I could pick here. I could say, well, I want to see like what the over 65s are like, and we can get that. So I could decide, sorry, over 60s, I could decide this is something I need to see. My job is I need to see this, right? And it will filter it. It works. It's good. It's easy, right? And most importantly, for a lot of people, it's quite responsive because that's always the biggest thing with these things is, oh, it's going to be a real nightmare. Yeah. So nationwide, below 30, we can see we're at 67% in terms of first doses. So how do we set this up? How can I make this work for me if that's what I want to do? If we look in the data model, you can see it's nothing too fancy with this. We've got things like positivity, which we're not using at the moment, but I think we should be looking at it. And positivity is a difficult one. So it's one I'm struggling with myself in terms of what does it actually mean. Right? We've got case rates, we've got the vaccination rates, and we've got the case rates by age. So we could look at case rates by age. And we'll do that when we do the drill through. So we'll drill through into an area and actually put something in where we can look and see, for this area, these are the case rates by age group, and these are the vaccination rates by age group. Put the two together. It makes sense. It'd be dead good. Honestly, you'll love it. Okay? And what we've then got is these three dimensions. So we've got our calendar, just a calendar in it. Okay? Got our locations in it. Okay? Probably want to do some more with locations if we can, but it's good enough for what it is. And we've got the interesting one, age range. This is the one we're going to look at today. Right? So what have I done with age range? How does it work? So when we click on age range, what we see is these are the age ranges that they've got. And what I've done is I've added on a V and a C. For some of them are going to come from vaccines, some of them are going to come from the case rates. They have different boundaries for it. So like we haven't got vaccination rates for under 18s, for example, but we've got case rates for under 18s. It goes down to 0 actually, 0 to 4, 5 to 9. There's differences with that. So I thought, well, let's divide it up, make sure that we're all okay and see how the drop downs work like that. Okay, so we've got that. Then what we have is we've got the old mythical disconnected table, okay, where I've got this age select. The age select is that's the key, isn't it? That's the secret sauce. Okay. So what we've got is we've got a boundary. And that's all I've put in. I've kept the boundary. And it's a number, so we can sort it. It doesn't really need much to make it any better. Yeah, and we've got the VC column. So is it a V? Is it a C? Okay. Nothing else really there for it. Right. The other thing that we've got is this, above or below. Okay, I couldn't find it for a second there. Right, above or below. What am I looking at? Do I want to see it above or do I want to see it below? And this does have an order. So if it's above, do something. If it's below, do something else. Okay, so we've got above, below, and all. Because we might want to look at everything. And in fact, I know we do. So that all controls the behaviors. So how do we go about writing a measure for this? If you remember before, we've said, this is one of those things that you need to do. Let's have a look at this. So we've got in our selected boundary. So which boundary have we picked from the dropdown? Okay. And in this case, if there's more than one value, so if we haven't picked a value from the dropdown, 30. So that's going to be our default boundary, 30. So the next thing we need to think through is, right, I now need to write a measure. So I'm going to go right click, new measure. And this is going to be the filtered first dose. Okay, so which one we're going to select. Now, this will be fun. What we need to do, we need to start with a variable. Okay, selected. And that's going to equal the selected boundary, isn't it? Okay, so which one have we selected? So this is a nice format that we're going to go through. Is let's declare some variables to start with. Right, the next line down, again, dead simple. VAR, above, below, above, below, A or B, yeah? A or B, okay? Equals the AB selected, yeah? So we had a similar measure written for above and below. So AB selected, above or below selected, and the selected boundary. So now we've got this, what we need to be thinking through is, what do they all mean? Okay? So what we can do is we can say VAR, all items. And we're saying all items just because all is one of the reserved words that you can't use for a variable name. Okay? So all items. Now I could do anything we wanted here, right? But I like the way it looks when a new line appears in the chart. It makes it like, oh, I've done something. So I'm going to call this blank. I'm going to have this one as blank. So if it's in all items, let's have blank. Now you can say, well, why don't you just put blank in the thing? And it's like, well, because this way you build this structure up, and you'll then be able to reuse it and say, well, this is what we want to, where we want to put the non-blank or the something else, whatever it is. You might decide I'm going to do something different. Right? We might decide we're going to use that all filtered here in the default, so the two lines would be there, just one over on top of the other. Okay, you could do that. It's up to you. Okay? So VAR less than equals, and this is where it's going to get tough. So there's going to be a calculate average vaccination rates, and it's going to be the first dose. Cumulative vaccination, first dose uptake by vaccination. Yeah, this one. Okay. These names roll off the tongue, don't they? So first date, the percentage, let's close that. And then it's going to be where age range, min, so the minimum age range, it's going to be is less than the selected, close brackets. So, and then we're going to have VAR greater than equals calculate average age range min less than or equal to selected, close brackets. Okay, so we've got all our variables selected. Yeah, we've got 5 variables written now. 5, 6, 5. We've got the 3 that relate to the options, and we've got the 2 that relate to the dropdowns. So now what we need to do is to return that. And what we're going to do is we're going to use a switch. Okay? So we're going to switch on A or B. Okay? If it's 1, that's going to be all items. Hey, this is tough, this one, isn't it? 2, that's going to be greater than, because I think that was the way I've actually written it. 3 is going to be less than. Okay? And then as a catch-all, what I'll do is I'll say, make that blank. So if there's any other value, let's have it as blank. So if we add a 4th and we don't put it in, it'll be blank. Okay? We've got it now. That's it, done for the first dose. As far as the second dose is concerned, we can paste that in. Okay, so I'll go right click here, new measure, and again, notice I'm putting the measures that relate to the disconnected table in with me disconnected table, because they're all, in my mind, they need to be together and consistently just held together for it. Okay, so we've got those 2 now. So if we now go back to here, what we can do is we can drag them onto there. So we've got the filtered first row, dose, filtered second dose, and we can now say, show me it below, and it shows it below. I can say, show me it above, and it shows me it where it's above 30. So if we look below, you can see this is nice, simple. It filters based on where I've selected. So it's going to give me that really clear view of what's happening within my data set. So what do you reckon then? Okay. The vaccination rates are clearly a lot lower for younger population groups. It's interesting that the 18 to 24 group seems to be slightly higher than the 25 to 29-year-old group. I would expect it to be the other way around if I was being level-headed about these things. The only thing I can think is that 18 to 24, there's a lot of people who are in full-time education or in education programs that potentially are getting the vaccination because they're going to need it. Or is it people who are getting it because they want to go out clubbing or drinking and doing stuff like that? And then 25 to 29, is that like we're past the drinking stage? I don't think we are, but I don't know. I'm not 24 to 20, 25 to 29 anymore, much as I wish I was. So it's an interesting one. It's I hope that you're going to go have a look at that report though, because there's a lot of power that's in there. And what we're going to do next week is I think we're going to look into building that whole next piece down, because what we've managed to build now so far is we've got the idea starting to evolve of exploration of data with the drop downs that we can pick and choose what we're doing. All these little things, all these technologies that you can put in, start to leverage and utilize to really help the consumption of your report. So the piece that we're missing is that last piece, that drill through, or I want to go down and see the next level down. So your consumption of data in a tool like Power BI, it becomes three-dimensional. We've got tooltips that overlay, and I always think of them as above the data to help you gain an understanding of it. And we've got that at the national level where it's you hover over an area and it then tells you what's going on within that area. A bit more of a summary, but detailed, orientated summary of that area. The next step would be saying, well, I want to drill down into that area and see exactly what's happening in that area. And we can do that. Okay. So what we'll do is we'll put that in and we might say, should we have something that allows us to pick between vaccinations and case rates? I don't think so. I think the sensible thing is that we look at a way of presenting the two together. And it might well be that we leverage this two drop-down techniques so that we can look at what it's like under 30s or over 30s, or if it's better to look at many at once and use some of the small chart multiples to really get in there and see what's happening. So we'll do a couple of mock-ups, and then we'll work through and see what works best. We'll talk through them all. So I hope you've enjoyed that. I hope you're not finding this a little bit ranty and a little bit like, oh, he's just being stupid. He doesn't know what he's talking about. The reality is, in a lot of ways, I don't know what I'm talking about. And I'm not going to say I do. What I am going to say is I'm trying to put the information in your hands so that you can look and you can make a truly informed decision and understand where people are coming from. So have a great weekend. Take care of yourselves and each other. Ta-da.